when should you do a deload week? This one came at a really great time because I actually had a cool interaction with one of my clients recently where I set up a deload week for her, and it was the first time she had ever done a deload week as a new client, and she was just blown away by I didn't even know this was a thing. Wow, it's active recovery. I feel so much better. I needed this so bad right now. The exercises feel easier. I feel stronger. I feel more refreshed. I'm excited to get into the next block of training. Everything that you'd want to hear about a deload week happened because I gave her a deload week. And so let's talk about what that is. A deload week is essentially a week that happens periodically, probably every 4 to 8 weeks. And we'll get more into the timing of it here in a second. But it is a week where you continue to train, and really you probably continue to do exactly the same training routine that you've been doing, but you scale the intensity and the volume back quite a bit. So by that, I mean, with scaling intensity back, you probably lighten the load on a lot of exercises. You reduce the amount of weight that's being lifted. And for reducing volume, you're going to cut back on sets and or reps for each of the exercises. And this is in order to, if a training block is scheduled, if it's programmed appropriately from week 1 till the end of that training block. And a training block is just a period of time where you are consistently training. From the start to the finish of a training block, you should see your workload go up. It should be intensity increasing throughout the training block. And by the end of the training block, the intensity should be high enough that okay, we need to take a break because we've accumulated a lot of fatigue, right? As you lift weights, you feel the soreness with your muscles, and the heavier the weights get, the more volume you're doing, the more intense things get, the more you accumulate fatigue, to the point where it's like a night of sleep isn't going to get all that fatigue to clear away, and you can continue to make progress and continue to train hard. So deload weeks are really helpful in order to help you continue to consistently train hard over a long period of time. And ironically, you do that by having a week where you don't train as hard. So that's what a deload week is in a nutshell. It's just like a week that's active recovery. You continue training, but you scale the workload back considerably so that you're still using the muscles that you've been using. So you're still working on the motor patterns that you've been doing. You could also consider it to be like a technique week where you lighten the load and you just focus on form and technique for each of the exercises that you're doing. But at the end of the day, it is intended to give you added rest and recovery. Now, when should you do a deload week? I kind of talked about a training block right before this piece here, where it's kind of variable. It depends on the person, depends on the type of training that you're doing. It depends on how experienced you are. I typically say every 4 to 8 weeks. And for most of my clients, we typically go 6, 7, 8 weeks regularly. And we structure the training blocks in a way, I structure the training blocks in a way that allows for 6, 7, 8 straight weeks of training before we have to hit a deload week. So we're slowly, methodically, and progressively increasing the workload over time. And then we hit that deload week, get refreshed, get rejuvenated, get recovered, and then start a new training block and continue to scale that intensity up even more. So if you don't have anybody doing your programming for you, an easy way to figure out if you're at the point where you should do a deload week is take a step back and analyze how you're feeling. Do you feel sluggish? Do you feel tired? Do you feel the muscle soreness? Is it the muscle soreness lasting longer and longer after each workout? Are you plateaued with your training? Have you gotten to a point where you're really struggling to add weight or sets or reps to the exercises that you're doing? These are all signs that your body probably needs a break and you would benefit from a deload week. But the thing I will say is one of the most beneficial things of having a coach, and I have a coach, I have somebody now that does my programming, tells me when to take a deload week, all that good stuff. And that's because I run into the problem I'm about to talk about. It's hard as an individual who wants to train hard and make progress to say, yeah, I should I should scale things back, because we're just conditioned to have if some is good, more is better. And if I stop training, I'm going to lose all my progress. Like it's so typical to think that way. And I totally get it. And I fall into that trap too. I'm really good at being objective for my clients, but I'm not as good at being objective for myself. And I don't think any of us are. So a really big benefit to having a coach can be, okay, this coach can not only structure my training in a way that progresses me in the direction that I want to go, but can also manage my recovery well. And that's where the deload week comes into play. But I would say if you're training hard, at maximum, you should go 8 weeks before you hit a deload, but it could happen even sooner. So between 4 and 8 weeks is typically a good rule of thumb.